Rumors about Xi Jinping's health records are spreading like wildfire. Scandals surrounding Peng Liyuan keep surfacing. Chinese citizens are now publicly calling on Xi to step down and apologize. The post-Xi era is on the horizon, and the countdown for the communist regime has officially begun. Welcome back to Final War with Katherine Hu. Recently, a flood of reports has been coming out of Beijing about Xi Jinping and Peng Liyuan. And if you take a closer look, you'll realize that beneath all these headlines, they all point in the same direction. The Chinese Communist Party may be preparing to officially announce Xi Jinping's removal from power this August. Let's break it down piece by piece. We'll start with the rumors about Xi Jinping's health. Xu Liren, a former Shanghai businessman now living in the United States, revealed that he obtained what appears to be a confidential medical report on Xi Jinping. According to Xu Liren, the person being examined suffers from multiple serious health conditions.
Just in the past couple of days, I managed to obtain what appears to be a medical examination report on the Supreme Leader. The report is very long, packed with detailed information. Since I'm not a medical expert myself, I shared it with some friends, people in the medical field, all of them top-level specialists, so they could evaluate whether the report looked legitimate from a professional medical standpoint. After reviewing it, they told me this report is highly professional and credible.
The report includes 6 categories of medical examinations. 1. Thyroid function. 2. Kidney function. 3. Metabolic indicators, including blood sugar, cholesterol, triglycerides, etc. 4. Cardiovascular function, including ECG, echocardiogram, and more. 5. Neurological evaluations, including brain MRI scans and Parkinson's assessments. 6. Abdominal scans to detect bloating and assess major organs like liver, gallbladder, pancreas, kidneys, and also fatty liver severity.
Let me share with you the diagnostic results, which fall into 5 main categories. First, neurological issues. The patient shows signs of white matter lesions in the brain, age-related atrophy, and Parkinson's disease. Second, endocrine system problems, specifically hypothyroidism, commonly known as underactive thyroid. Third, cardiovascular issues, chronic heart failure, classified between New York Heart Association Class 2 and Class 3 severity levels. Fourth, kidney dysfunction, water and sodium retention, impaired sodium excretion, and mild kidney impairment, indicated by a slightly reduced glomerular filtration rate. Fifth, metabolic disorders, impaired glucose tolerance, hyperlipidemia, elevated LDL cholesterol, and alcoholic fatty liver disease. These are the major findings from this report.
In plain English, this examination reveals classic symptoms of aging, brain atrophy, Parkinson's disease, hypothyroidism, heart failure at stage 2 to 3, declining kidney function, high cholesterol, and alcoholic fatty liver disease. The medical records resemble a routine elderly health screening, except with glaring red flags across all categories. Notably, the Parkinson's symptoms can cause involuntary head tilts, neck muscle spasms, and erratic posture, symptoms Xi Jinping has displayed in recent public appearances. Now, is this report 100% verified to be Xi's? No. But the timing of its release is what really matters. It surfaced right before the annual Beidaihu Leadership Summit. It surfaced when the fourth plenary session's date remained suspiciously unannounced. It surfaced when state-run media like People's Daily and CCTV are deliberately toning down Xi's personal glorification. The timing tells us this isn't just some routine medical document. It's a political signal, part of a carefully orchestrated yet extremely dangerous experiment in orchestrating a leadership transition. In the opaque world of CCP power struggles, there's an ultimate form of communication called political signaling. No official statements, no public announcements, just deliberate leaks that mix truth and lies, leaving you to connect the dots. But the real answer is always hiding in plain sight. The Communist Party has mastered this game over decades. This is how CCP politics works. They never spell things out explicitly, but every step is calculated for you to see, to follow, and to draw your own conclusions. And this leaked medical report could very well be the quiet prelude to Xi Jinping's final farewell. Next, let's talk about Peng Liyuan's latest appearance. After disappearing from public view for over 2 months, Peng Liyuan finally reappeared. On July 17th, China's top state media outlets all reposted a Xinhua news agency report covering Peng Liyuan's attendance at the 2025 Guling Connection Sino-US Youth Exchange event, organized by the Chinese People's Association for Friendship with Foreign Countries. China's embassy in Washington, D.C. also published multiple photos and group shots from the event. At first glance, everything seemed normal. Peng Liyuan looked elegant and dignified as always. But the timing of this public appearance is deeply revealing. It comes right at the height of a tidal wave of scandals surrounding Peng Liyuan inside Beijing's political circles. Let's go through these rumors. First, there are allegations that Peng Liyuan was directly involved in orchestrating the death of former Premier Li Keqiang. Second, some claim that Peng has already finalized a divorce agreement with Xi Jinping. She's reportedly left Zhongnanhai, retreated to her hometown in Shandong, and insists she had no knowledge or involvement in Li Keqiang's death. Third, there are swirling rumors about Peng Liyuan's alleged extramarital affairs. One of the more outrageous claims suggests she had a secret affair with her young political secretary. Another rumor alleges Peng Liyuan maintained a long-term clandestine relationship with Zhu Zhisong, a standing committee member of the Shanghai Party Committee and party secretary of Pudong District. Zhu Zhisong was placed under investigation by the CCP's top anti-corruption agency in November 2024 for serious disciplinary and legal violations, and was officially expelled from the party on June 10th of this year. Now in the middle of this media storm, Peng Liyuan suddenly shows up to make a high-profile appearance. Make no mistake, this was a political performance, a public denial without saying a word. Because in China's elite politics, how Peng Liyuan is treated is a crucial barometer of Xi Jinping's true power status. Peng Liyuan, after all, is no ordinary first lady. Yes, she came from an entertainment background as a folk singer, often compared to Mao Zedong's infamous wife, Jiang Qing. But Peng is far more powerful than Jiang Qing ever was. Why? Because Mao only used Jiang Qing as a political tool. He always kept absolute control. Xi Jinping, on the other hand, entrusted Peng Liyuan with real power. Peng Liyuan is different. She has the boldness and assertiveness typical of people from Shandong. She's opinionated, knows how to wield power, and knows how to hold her ground. Her appointment to the military's top cadre evaluation committee was a game changer, effectively stripping the General Political Department and the Central Military Commission of their personnel authority. In reality, the power to promote senior military officers was placed directly in Peng Liyuan's hands. But now, look at the situation. Even someone as powerful as Peng Liyuan has become the target of rampant, scandalous rumors in Beijing. Stories that are not only circulating widely in elite circles, but are filled with vivid details and sensational drama. It's not hard to imagine the scenes at dinner tables and banquets where people gleefully gossip about these salacious tales, drawing waves of laughter. What does this tell us? This kind of ruthless character assassination only happens when the person in question has lost power or is on the brink of collapse. In other words, the fact that all factions within the party are now openly leaking, spreading rumors, and pushing their own versions of the story. This in itself is clear evidence that Xi Jinping's grip on power has already unraveled. At the same time, a powerful open letter to Xi Jinping has been circulating online, stirring up intense debate. This letter, signed by a conscientious Chinese citizen, delivered a blunt message. You have brought disaster upon this country. It is time for you to apologize and step down. The letter lists Xi Jinping's political sins one by one, ending with a scathing warning.
You are not the savior of China. You are the burden that drags the people down. You are not a beacon for the nation. You are the fog of history. You must step down. You must apologize. You must surrender the future of the nation that you have hijacked. This is the most peaceful, rational, and civilized request from a citizen. If you refuse to listen, prepare yourself for the unstoppable awakening and collective action of the people. History will not stay silent. The people will not endure forever. I write this at the dawn of a coming storm, in the hope that China's future will no longer be haunted by your shadow.
This letter doesn't just represent one citizen's courage. It speaks for hundreds of millions of Chinese people. Across the economy, military, and foreign relations, the Chinese Communist regime is now facing its most severe systemic crisis in decades. Skyrocketing national debt, a collapsing real estate market, mass capital flight and elite exodus, youth unemployment hitting record highs, a dramatic drop in consumption, stagnant exports, and a population decline accelerating out of control. These hard truths are crushing the daily lives of ordinary Chinese citizens. Nationwide protests are spreading like wildfire. Public anger is nearing the breaking point. China has become a giant pressure cooker, and the explosion could happen at any moment. The writing is on the wall. A political earthquake is coming. And for hundreds of millions inside China, the collapse of the Communist Party isn't just a distant hope. It's now a mainstream belief. Just days ago, the Hudson Institute, one of America's most respected think tanks, hosted a major forum titled China After Communism, Preparing for a Post-CCP China. Top policy experts and scholars gathered to discuss the global impact of the CCP's potential collapse and how the free world should respond. Hudson Institute President and CEO John Walters opened with a stark warning. He pointed out, "History has proven, when regime change comes, those who aren't prepared always get blindsided." That's why this conference was convened, to plan ahead, to avoid chaos, and to ensure the world is ready when the communist regime falls, helping China transition peacefully to a more stable and democratic government, while minimizing global shocks. Dr. Miles Yu, former China policy advisor to the US State Department, explained that when totalitarian regimes collapse, they often trigger chain reactions, security risks, ethnic conflicts, and diplomatic crises. Yu believes that any transition in China must solve three core challenges: nuclear weapons security, border stability, and historical truth and accountability. In his view, only by facing these issues head-on can China ultimately achieve constitutional democracy. Piero Tozzi, director of the Congressional Executive Commission on China, emphasized that religious freedom must be the foundation of post-communist reconstruction. Tozzi argued, religious groups must be protected from revenge and reprisals. They should have formal representation in the future transitional government. There must be a Truth and Reconciliation Commission to investigate historic atrocities, including the Cultural Revolution and Xinjiang's concentration camps, ensuring these crimes are publicly exposed and remembered. Religious freedom must be enshrined in the future Chinese constitution, fully aligned with international human rights standards. This Hudson Institute conference served as a wake-up call to the entire world. The countdown to the CCP's downfall has begun. The time to prepare for a free China is now. Finally, let's circle back to the core dilemma facing the CCP leadership right now. And here's a sincere reminder. Collective leadership is the most fragile form of power within the Communist Party system. When the so-called strongman aura fades away, it doesn't leave behind unity or consensus. It leaves behind a power vacuum. And history has shown, whenever that power vacuum appears, rival factions move in like sharks sensing blood. A round table without a host. Inside the Chinese Communist Party, this has always been the beginning of brutal internal chaos. Get the real story behind the CCP's shifting power games and see where US-China relations are headed next. Support the vision of a new China without communism. Subscribe now and join us in bringing the truth to light.